Some spirits don't wait for salvation. Some only wait for the last person to arrive on time. Nghĩa was a fourth-year student majoring in folklore studies at the University of Social Sciences and Humanities. For his thesis, he chose the topic, Urban Legends, Origins and Transformations within Ho Chi Minh City's inner districts. It sounded simple at first, but the deeper Nghĩa dug, the more he realized one thing. Those old ghost stories passed down through generations might not be pure imagination. That afternoon, while digging through the school library's archive room, Nghĩa stumbled upon a stack of old newspaper clippings from 2003, a year nobody seemed to care about. Inside was a single article. No author, only a small headline. Body of girl in red mysteriously appears at a dead-end alley in District 8. He took out his phone, snapped a photo, and read it closely. The article was short. It said residents discovered the body of a young woman in a red dye, traditional dress, sitting against the wall at the end of alley 130, Ward 4. District 8, around 3 a.m. What was strange? The body showed no signs of decomposition, no visible injuries, and the girl had been confirmed dead for over a year. Nghĩa frowned. He jotted down in his notebook, alley 130, Ward 4, D8, girl in red, undecayed body, year 2003, no family info. That night, back at his rented room, Nghĩa opened the photo again. Though blurry, he could still make out the figure sitting at the end of the alley. What gave him chills was, behind the girl, there was another shadow leaning against the wall, its head tilted, staring directly at the camera. Nghĩa muttered, could that be the photographer? But why behind her? He circled the shadow with a red pen, then pulled up a map on his phone and located the alley. It was less than 4 kilometers from his place. The next morning, Nghĩa borrowed a friend's motorbike and rode straight to alley 130. It was a narrow alley tucked within a dense neighborhood, houses built side by side. He parked at the entrance and greeted a middle-aged motorbike taxi driver scrolling on his phone. Hi, uncle. May I ask, did someone really die at the end of this alley? The man, about 50, turned to look at Nghĩa and sniffed. Why you asking? You a reporter or something? Nghĩa smiled lightly and waved his hands. No, sir, I'm working on a research project. Just trying to learn more. The man clicked his tongue and looked deep into the alley. You believe in ghosts and all that? Nghĩa nodded. A little. I'm not superstitious, but I think things that last this long usually have a reason. The man nodded slowly, then pointed toward the far end. Used to be an abandoned house there. The girl was a tenant. Folks say she took her own life inside, but somehow, her body was found outside, leaning against that wall. Nghĩa pressed further. Do you know her name? No one does. She lived quietly, died quietly too. I just remember when the cops took the body. There was this woman, dressed in light gray, holding a small paper bundle, standing far away. No one knew who she was. The man paused, then continued in a lower voice. Ever since that incident, anyone passing by the end of that alley, if they accidentally looked at the exact spot where she sat, something weird would happen. Some would sleepwalk at night. Some saw a red dress hanging on their door. Some fell ill with strange symptoms. And the weirdest thing? No one can remember what her face looked like. Can you believe that? Nghĩa stayed silent. This wasn't just thesis material anymore. It felt like something was waiting for him to take one step further. That afternoon, Nghĩa returned to the alley alone. He walked slowly, avoiding looking at anything but the final wall, where the girl had once sat. The wall had been repainted, but the bricks still looked patchy, moss-streaked like they'd never truly dried. He stood still for a moment. Suddenly, a cold gust blew from the alley's end. Though the sun was scorching, Nghĩa shivered slightly. Behind him, someone whispered very softly, "That's not where you should be standing." He spun around. No one was there. Back at his room, Nghĩa reopened the article photo. He flipped through the pages quickly, and suddenly noticed the red pen circle he had drawn around the shadow behind the girl had faded, as if someone had wiped it off with a fingertip. Under the light, he spotted a dried brown stain on the paper's edge, looked like blood. He jumped up, heart racing. On his index finger, there was a small scratch, bleeding slightly, though he didn't remember touching anything sharp. That night, before sleeping, Nghĩa wrote in his journal, "If this is just a folklore story, Why did I see blood on the photo? And if someone is waiting at the end of that alley, I don't think they're waiting for the first person. They're waiting for the last. 2 days later, Nghĩa couldn't get the image of the girl in red out of his head. He reviewed the blurry photo dozens of times, zooming in on every corner. The shadow behind her still appeared like a permanent smudge. The more he looked, the more it resembled a real person standing there, but with no face. That day, he returned to alley 130 again, not to find clues, just because he felt like he had to. He brought a single stick of incense, a red pen, and an old leather notebook. Not to pray, but to observe. He wanted to record every detail, every sound, every feeling from that alley corner. The end of the alley was quiet. A few residents sat outside their homes, eyeing Nghĩa like a stranger. He walked to the very end wall, where the girl had once sat. Placing his hand on the faded white paint, he felt the brick underneath, slightly dented, like someone had leaned there for a long time. He bent down close to the ground. One brick at the bottom left corner looked different, older than the rest. A thin crack ran along its edge, like it had once been removed, then replaced. Nghĩa pulled out a small screwdriver from his pocket. He didn't plan to damage anything, but curiosity had overpowered every boundary. He gently pried at it. The brick popped up slightly. A sour, musty odor wafted out, not the smell of decay, but the scent of old paper soaked with oil and blood. Beneath the brick was a small black cloth pouch, tied with red thread. Nghĩa carefully opened it. Inside were a long lock of wavy dark brown hair, a shattered triangular shard of mirror, a handwritten note in brown ink, with smudged letters. Nghĩa unfolded the note. The writing was shaky, distorted, as if written by freezing hands. Those who pass by 3 times, gaze 3 times, and see blood, shall never find their way back. Those who accidentally name it, shall bear the karma. Those who deliberately keep the name, shall replace the one who held the shard. Nghĩa shuddered. By the 3rd line, he realized he had broken both taboos. He had stared at the photo 3 times. He had seen blood, and he had unknowingly circled the shadow, as if giving it a name. That night, Nghĩa brought the cloth pouch home, placed it inside a metal box, and left it on his desk. He searched Google for keywords: reverse talisman, broken mirror, soul shard keeper, but only random folklore and baseless stories came up. He called Nan, a classmate who specialized in spiritual rituals, for her essays. "Hello, Nghĩa? Why are you calling me at this hour?" "Nan, you once mentioned something about reverse talismans, right? Is there a type involving mirrors, hair, and handwritten notes?" "Yes, I've seen it in a book. It's called a lingering imprint talisman. It's a ritual to bind part of a dead person's soul to prevent them from reincarnating. They remain, forever, in the place where the ritual was hidden." Nghĩa took a deep breath. "Then, the spirit that's been bound is the girl in red?" Nan was silent for a few seconds, then spoke slowly. "Maybe, but Nghĩa, the one who holds the talisman, the soul fragment, sees them first." 3 a.m. Nghĩa jolted awake. In his head, the phrase echoed, "Hold the shard, and you will be seen first." The boarding room was silent. The window was ajar, no wind, but the curtain fluttered gently, like someone had just brushed past. Nghĩa turned on the light. Nothing unusual. He opened the metal box, intending to store the talisman in a drawer. But as soon as he lifted the lid, he froze. The triangular mirror shard had moved. It was no longer lying flat, but now stood upright, as if someone had placed it in a hand. In the mirror's reflection was a pale hand, touching the back of his neck. Nghĩa spun around. No one, but his neck, still felt icy cold, like fingers had just been there. The next morning, Nghĩa texted Nan, "I don't think she ever took her own life. I think someone kept her spirit bound, and now they want to pass the curse on." Nan replied instantly, "Be careful. If her soul was trapped, then the previous keeper is gone, and the shadow in the photo might have been the last one who held it. Now it's your turn." That afternoon, Nghĩa returned to alley 130. He brought nothing except his notebook and the soul-binding talisman, now wrapped in 2 layers of cloth. He stood before the last house in the alley, the one where people said the girl in red once rented a room. The house was old. A note on the door read, "No longer occupied, do not leave deliveries." Yet in the small yard, there were signs of life. Clotheslines, a basin of rainwater, and a few withered potted plants. Nghĩa called softly, "Hello, is anyone home?" After a moment, the door creaked open. An elderly woman appeared, thin, hunched, gray hair sparse, cloudy eyes staring out. "Who is it?" "My name is Nghĩa. I'm researching a girl who used to live here years ago. She wore a red dye, passed away at the end of the alley. Do you know about her?" The old woman didn't answer right away. She stared at him for a long moment, then opened the door wider. Her voice was raspy. "Come in, but don't stand in the doorway too long, wind will carry the words. And others will hear." Inside, the house was bare. A small altar sat against the wall with an old incense bowl. Cold and dusty. Above it hung a faded black and white photo, its edges worn. Nghĩa stepped closer. The photo showed a young woman in a white dye, shoulder-length hair, holding a book. Her face wasn't clear due to the dim lighting, but the eyes looked just like the ones from that 2003 newspaper photo. He pointed to the image. "Is this her, ma'am?" The old woman didn't look at the picture. She quietly poured him some water and replied slowly, "Yes. Her name was Lynn, rented here for about a year. Very quiet, kept odd hours, almost like she wasn't living on the same timeline as us." Nghĩa nodded gently. "And when she passed, did anyone come to claim her?" The old woman froze. Her hand trembled as she set the glass on the table. "No one came, but a week before she died, she left a letter. I never dared read it. Just remember, the envelope had no sender name. Only a dried bloodstain in one corner." Nghĩa sat up straight. "Did you keep it?" She shook her head. "No, police took it. But since then, I've started forgetting little things. First it was street names. Then, slowly, her name." Nghĩa opened his notebook and wrote, "Those who see, begin to forget. Those who name, begin to replace." He pulled the wrapped talisman from his bag. The old woman recoiled. You have that? Oh dear, don't open it in my house. It binds the soul. Doesn't let it escape." Nghĩa reassured her. "I won't open it, but I want to know, who placed it there? Was it Lynn?" The woman shook her head. "No, it was someone who came looking for her, just before she died. She said that person wore monk's robes, but their face lacked all signs of life." "Was it a man or woman?" The old woman paused, then sighed. "I couldn't tell. That person had no shadow beneath their feet." Nghĩa thanked her and left the house just as dusk began to fall. On the way home, Nghĩa received a message from Nan. "I found it. The lingering soul talisman has 3 seals. The name, the hair, the reflection. If someone calls the name 3 times, without letting go, they'll be called back." Nghĩa read the message over and over. He understood. Today, for the first time, he had learned the girl's name, Lynn. The first time had already happened. That night, in his room, Nghĩa turned on his laptop and began typing a new draft. Lynn, the girl in red. Her real name, the first I've ever known. That name now echoes in my head, even before I speak it aloud. He paused and looked at the laptop screen's reflection. In the glossy black frame, something moved behind him. He turned. No one. He looked back at the screen. Nothing there, but in the small mirror on his desk, slightly angled toward the wall, Nghĩa saw it clearly. Someone sitting in the corner of the room, facing away, wearing a red dye, slowly brushing her hair. 1 week later, Nghĩa hadn't slept through a single night. Every time Nghĩa dozed off, he woke up at exactly 3 a.m. Not because of nightmares, but because someone was whispering his name 3 times, right behind his ear. "Nghĩa, Nghĩa, hey, Nghĩa." A woman's voice. Soft, sad, but it carried none of the warmth of the living. It echoed like a voice from the bottom of water, calling not out of need, but simply to be heard. On Friday afternoon, Nghĩa received a strange message. No name attached. "Meet me, 7 p.m., Riverbank Cafe. Last table. I once held her." That was all. He didn't know who sent it, but something deep inside told him this person was connected to the reverse talisman he found under the brick. Exactly 7 p.m., Nghĩa walked into the cafe. River breeze cooled the air, but it didn't ease his pounding heart. He looked around. At the far corner, a man in his early 30s, tall and thin, in a pale gray shirt, sat quietly. He wasn't drinking anything. Nghĩa approached, hesitantly. "Are you the one who sent me the message?" The man nodded. His eyes were deep, tired, like someone who hadn't slept in years. His voice was calm, steady. "My name is VY. I used to be a student in ethnology. Back in 2003, I was doing fieldwork in District 8. I also once looked for her." Nghĩa sat down across from him, tense. "The girl in red, her name's Lynn?" The man shook his head slightly. "I don't remember. I used to know. But after 3 months, that name slipped from my mind. Like it never existed." Nghĩa shivered. "You said you once held her?" VY pressed his lips together. His eyes locked on Nghĩa. "I once found the reverse talisman. Under the same brick, I saw the broken mirror, the hair, and the handwritten note. I brought it back, studied it. First night, I saw her in my dream. Third night, I heard her whispering my name. Fifth night, I looked in the mirror and saw no reflection. No reflection? I looked straight into it, nothing. But behind me, there was a shadow in red. And that shadow had my face." Nghĩa held his breath, absorbing every word. VY rested his arms on the table, speaking slowly. "I tried to break free. I buried the talisman back where I found it, poured cement over it, but it didn't work. She doesn't wait for the first person who finds her. She waits for the one who learns her real name." Nghĩa clenched his fists. "I know her name. The old landlord told me. It's Lynn." VY nodded gently, lowering his gaze. "Then, you are the last." Nghĩa went silent for a long while. He asked, as if standing on the edge of a cliff, "So what happens to the one who's called 3 times?" VY closed his eyes. For a brief second, fear flashed across his face. "You don't die. You don't disappear. You're just reflected, like you keep existing. But only in the mirrors of others. And each time someone new comes along, you have to watch them, slowly, until they speak her true name. Then they replace you, and you're finally freed." The silence stretched long. Finally, VY handed Nghĩa an old, crumpled sheet of paper with torn corners. "I once wrote everything down, before I forgot. I kept it safe in a plastic sleeve. You keep it. When you begin to forget, read it again." Nghĩa took it. The paper still felt slightly damp, like it had just been pulled out of a place with no air. On it were just 3 lines. "If you hear her call, don't answer. If you see yourself in the mirror, lower your head. If the one in the mirror smiles, run. Don't look back." VY stood up. "I saw her smile, and I didn't run." Nghĩa sat frozen. VY walked away. His figure vanished through the cafe's doorway. In the untouched coffee cup, the surface shimmered like a mirror. And reflected in it was someone else, wearing red, sitting across from Nghĩa, staring for a long, long time. That night, in the bathroom mirror, Nghĩa saw his own face begin to fade. But behind him, another face was forming. Long hair, pale skin, colorless lips, no eyes, only 2 dark, empty sockets, and the lips, pressed shut, began to curl. 3 days later, Nghĩa began to forget. At first, it was small things. Forgetting to turn off the lights. Forgetting to lock the door. Forgetting where he left his phone. Then came stranger gaps. Forgetting what he had eaten the day before. Forgetting his best friend's name. Forgetting why he went to alley 130. Only one thing never faded. The face of the girl in red. Even when the mirror fogged up. Even when the glass was dusty. Even when water rippled. Her image always appeared, right behind him, as if resting her chin on his shoulder. Whispering. That morning, Nghĩa flipped through his notebook, trying to track what had happened. But many pages had been wiped clean, as if someone with wet hands had smudged every line. Only one faint line remained at the top of a page. She doesn't wait for salvation. She waits for the last one to speak her name. Then, nothing. He opened the talisman pouch again. The triangular mirror shard now had another chip on its edge, as if someone had pressed a fingernail into it. He picked up his phone and texted Nan. "I've started forgetting. I don't remember how I got this mirror. But every time I look into it, the face I see isn't mine." Nan replied almost instantly. "Nghĩa, I'm looking for a master to break the curse. There's an old woman in District 5. She specializes in unbinding soul-holding spells. I'll come get you right now. Okay?" Nghĩa typed, "Okay, I'll wait at my room." 30 minutes later, Nan arrived. The two of them rode toward the Chinese district in District 5. The wind whipped against Nia's face, yet he didn't feel cold. In front of him, the side mirror quivered. And there, stuck next to it, was a long strand of hair. He reached out to pull it off, then froze. The hair wasn't on the mirror. It was growing out from the plastic seam beneath the seat. They arrived. The old woman's name was Granny Hai Luke. She lived in a small alley beside On Pagoda. Her house had a low tin roof. Bundles of dried charms hung from the eaves, yellowed leaves, red threads, and ashes sprinkled in triangular shapes. As soon as Nghĩa stepped in, the old woman looked at him and waved her hand sharply. "You're too late. One more night, and you won't be walking on this earth anymore." Non panicked. "Granny, my friend's been cursed or something. A reverse reflection talisman or spirit holding spell. Can you help him?" Granny Hai looked at Nghĩa. Her eyes were cloudy, but deep like a well. "Do you still see yourself in mirrors?" Nghĩa nodded slowly. "Yes, but it's not me anymore. The person in there is smiling." Granny stepped to her altar and pulled out a piece of white cloth with symbols written in chicken blood. "You have to return to the place where you lifted that brick. Take the mirror, place it back in the same crack, and before the sun rises, you must speak her name 3 times. Not to summon her, but to give the curse back." "But what if calling her name 3 times causes the curse to bounce back onto Nghĩa?" The old woman looked him straight in the eye, her voice heavy. "He's already heard it once. Woke up from sleep hearing her voice in a dream, that's the second. Saw her smiling in the mirror, that's the third. It's not about saying her name 3 times. It's about hearing it 3 times. Now is the moment of choice. Either keep it, or give it back. There is no turning back." That night, Nghĩa stood in alley 130, at the exact spot where he had lifted the brick. The wind was gentle, no one else around. He knelt, placed the mirror shard back into the crack, then spread the white cloth given by Granny Hai over the ground. In front of him, the shadow of the wall was still, like a pool of water. He took a deep breath and spoke. "Lin, nothing. Lin, no breeze, no echo." He said the final time, his voice low and trembling. "Lin." Behind him came the sound of footsteps. Light, slow, steady. They stopped exactly 1 hand span from his back. A woman's voice, soft as wind through hair. "Thank you for calling my name one last time. Now I can finally see your face clearly." Nghĩa turned around. No one, but his shadow on the ground, was facing him, not reflecting his back, and it smiled. A soft, gentle smile, then vanished. 1 week after returning the mirror, Nghĩa felt lighter. He finally slept through the night, for the first time in nearly 2 weeks. No more voices calling at 3 a.m. No more red dress in the bathroom mirror. No more reverse reflections. Everything seemed like it had never happened. He packed the talisman, brought it to the canal, and burned it. The lock of hair curled in flames. The broken mirror cracked softly, like water trapped inside. The smoke curled gently, then disappeared. Nghĩa took a deep breath. It felt like it was over. But strangely, the next morning, while getting coffee with Nan, she snapped a selfie of the 2 of them. She held up the phone, smiling. "Hey, I'm posting this to my story. You actually look less stiff now." Nghĩa leaned over to look at her phone. His eyes froze. In the photo, only Nan was there. The seat next to her, empty. No Nghĩa, even though he was clearly sitting there. He whispered, "Can you take another one?" Nan was puzzled. "What? Sure, okay." She snapped another photo. The screen lit up, still only Nan. No one beside her. Nan looked over at him. Her face went pale for the first time. "Hey, that's weird. You're right here. But why aren't you in the picture?" Nghĩa said nothing. His chest tightened, as if something was gripping his heart. He murmured, "I think I don't exist anymore. It's like I'm just a shadow now. Not in mirrors, but only in the memories of those who care enough not to forget." That night, Nghĩa tried recording himself on his phone. In the frame, his voice was audible. Footsteps echoed. The chair dipped as he sat down. But no image appeared, only when he stood up and stepped out of frame. Did the camera finally show something? And in the background wall, a glimpse of red fabric fluttered by. Like wind, he called Nan. The phone rang endlessly. No one answered. He tried again. This time, the automated voice said, "The number you have dialed does not exist." He suddenly remembered what Granny Hai said. Not dead, not gone, but no longer seen. The next day, he went to class. The lecture hall was full. He nodded at a few familiar faces. No one reacted. He approached Min, his old best friend. "Hey Min, did the grades for the seminar come out?" Min didn't turn, didn't blink, as if he hadn't heard a thing. Nghĩa touched Min's shoulder. Min flinched, turned around, and looked through him, then rubbed his arms. Weird. Suddenly felt a chill, like someone was standing right behind me. Nghĩa stepped back. He looked down. No shadow. He left. Wandered all afternoon. The Saigon sky was unusually gloomy. Even though it didn't rain, even the sunlight seemed dimmer. He passed by shop windows. The glass reflected people, traffic, but not him. Just once, in front of a shop selling old ao dai. He paused. The dusty glass reflected a hazy scene, but clearly showed a figure behind him. Long hair, red dress, black eyes. Not him. She smiled. For the first time, a full smile. Satisfied. Then silently stepped through the glass. Without opening the door. That night, Nghĩa wrote one last line in his notebook. Using pencil, afraid he might forget he ever had the thought. "I said her name 3 times. I thought I freed her. But maybe, I just took her place. Now, she appears in others' eyes. And I remain only in the memory of those who love me enough not to forget." He closed the notebook, turned off the light, sat straight in front of the mirror. In the darkness, only the mirror glowed faintly, reflecting an empty chair, where someone once sat. Then that light faded too. Nan opened her eyes. In front of her, her phone screen. Messenger showed a new message from Nghĩa. Sent at 2:27 a.m. "Nan, if I'm gone by tomorrow, please remember her name. Don't forget. I'm fading now." No exclamation marks. No ellipses. Just a calm plea, like someone trying to stay composed till the very end. Nan clutched her phone tight. "No, I'm not letting him go like this." At dawn, she went to Nia's place. His room was still locked, but inside, the light was still on. Through the crack under the door, a soft glow seeped out. She called out, "Nghĩa, open up, I'm here." No response. She called again. Still silence. But from beneath the door, a small piece of paper slid out, as if nudged by a breeze. Nan picked it up. It was a page from Nia's old notebook. The handwriting shaky, but still unmistakably his. "Nan, I remember you. But soon, you'll forget me. Because the one who keeps the talisman gets erased from everything real. Only remains in mirrors, in photos, and in the memory that clings. If you ever see me somewhere, don't be afraid. I'm not gone. I'm just slipping out of reality. And you are the last person who remembers her name." Nan burst into tears, not knowing if it was from fear, or from the deep sense of something precious slipping away. Like trying to hold water, knowing it's there, but unable to grasp it. She pulled out her phone, opened her photo folder, scrolled through all pictures taken with Nghĩa. Nothing. Every photo of the two of them now showed only her. Even group shots of 3 or 4 people. Nghĩa had vanished. The empty space remained. Chairs slightly indented, light partially blocked, but no person. That afternoon, she returned to the house at the end of alley 130. The place Nghĩa had once mentioned. The house was still closed, but there was a feeling, as if someone had just stepped away from the curtain. She stood there for a long time. An old woman passed by, carrying a bag of vegetables. She hesitated, then said, "Miss, did you know the boy who used to be here?" Skinny kid, deep eyes, always scribbling notes by the wall? Nan turned around, instantly replied, "Yes, that's him. Did you see him recently?" The old woman shook her head. "Not anymore. No one even talks about him now. But this morning, I saw a familiar shadow reflected in a truck's side mirror. Standing right here at the alley. When I turned to look, no one." Nan's voice trembled. "Do you remember his name?" The woman furrowed her brow. "Of course I do, but now, strange. It's like his name just slipped out of my head." She chuckled softly. A hollow kind of laugh. Like words written in sand. The wave came and washed them away. That night, Nan returned home. She opened her laptop, typed, "Nghĩa," into Facebook. No results. Even his old profile, deactivated. In her inbox, the entire message history, blank. Just a gray profile photo. No name, no info. She searched Google Drive, opened the folder. Nia's stories, his notes about the girl in red. Empty. Only one file remained, titled, Last Reflection. She clicked. The screen displayed a single italicized line, centered on a white background. Non, if you're reading this, it means you're the last person who still remembers me. Don't say my name anymore. Say hers. She needs someone to remember, so no one else has to take her place again. Her name is Lati Tan Lin. She read slowly, then again, and again. Each time, her tears fell. Not from remembering, but from the fear of forgetting. Midnight. Non sat in front of her mirror, hands clutching Nia's notebook. The room was dim. Behind her, the mirror reflected her own image. Sitting still, she whispered, voice trembling, Nia, are you still there? The mirror said nothing, but deep within her chest, she felt a soft breath, and a whisper, right behind her. Don't call me anymore, Non, I'm not coming back. But she's standing behind you. Non turned in horror. No one there. Only the mirror, slowly dimmed. Then reflected the image of a girl, red dress, long hair, black eyes, tilting her head slightly, staring at Non through the glass. After that night, Non began memorizing the name Lati Tan Lin in every way possible. Writing it by hand, repeating it in her head, sticking notes on mirrors, on her phone, even recording herself reciting the name over and over. Lati Tan Lin. Lin. Red dress. End of the alley. She didn't let herself relax for a single minute, because she knew, if she forgot, the next one would be her. 3 days later, Non returned to see Granny Hai Luke, the one who had helped Nia. She sat down and, with trembling voice, said, Granny, my friend, his name was Nia. No one remembers him now. But I haven't forgotten. The old woman looked up. Her cloudy eyes suddenly sharpened. Then, you're the name keeper. You haven't been called 3 times. There's still a way. Non gripped her hands tightly. Whatever it takes, just save Nia. Or at least, keep that girl from dragging someone else in. The old woman nodded slowly. She reached under the table and pulled out a small, worn wooden box. Inside were a red thread, a calligraphy brush, and a yellowed piece of coarse paper. She spoke slowly. The name of a spirit, when repeated 3 times at the right spiritual hour, becomes a summoning key. But if someone keeps that name through the binding ritual, the spirit doesn't have to wander anymore. No more mirrors. No more reflections. Non swallowed hard. What do I have to do? The old woman handed her the brush. Write her full name 3 times, at exactly 3:03 a.m. After each time, roll the paper. Tie it with the red thread. Written by a hand that truly remembers. The name will stay. No reflection. No erasure. No repetition. That night, 3:03 a.m. Non sat alone at her desk. The wind slipped through the cracks in the window, flickering the dim light of her nightlamp. She wrote, Lati Tan Lin. Her hands trembled, but the handwriting was still clear. She rolled the paper, tied it with red thread, set it aside, then wrote the second one. Then the third. 3 scrolls. 3 knots. 3 heartbeats pounding loud in her ears. At last, she placed all 3 inside the paper box, closed the lid, exhaled. Just then, her phone screen lit up on its own. A message appeared, no number. No sender. Non, I see you now. I'm standing here, among the people who no longer remember you. The next morning, Non tried messaging her old classmates. Does anyone still remember Nia? Tall guy, fair skin, always told ghost stories? No one replied at first. Then a girl named my message back. Huh, who's that? Non? There was never anyone named Nia in our class. Someone else chimed in. I remember Nam, Long, Dui. But Nia? You sure you're not mixing up names? Non didn't reply. She opened her camera, switched to selfie mode, brought the lens close to her face. For the first time, there was no red dress behind her. No whisper. No eyes watching her nape. Nothing at all. She smiled faintly, but her eyes still stung. That evening, Non went to Nia's old boarding room. Still locked, never rented again. She quietly pulled the small wooden box from her bag and placed it gently at the doorstep. No knocking, no name calling, just a whisper. Lin, I won't forget you, and I won't let anyone forget Nia. You both existed, in real life, not just in mirrors. She turned and walked away. Never looked back. That same night, in another city, in a different room, someone new moved in. They hung a large mirror above their bed, then posted a photo online. New room, fresh start. But in the photo, there was something odd. In the corner of the mirror, faint and faded near the edge, someone had written with a bleeding brush, "Don't speak the name if you don't truly remember." 1 month later, Dung, 25, newly transferred office worker to the Saigon branch. No family, no friends in the city. He moved into a cheap rental in District 8. Friendly landlord, fully furnished. His room sat at the end of a narrow hallway, directly across from Nia's old room. On his first night, Dung unpacked and lay sprawled on the mattress. Scrolling on his phone, he snapped a picture and posted, "New place, new beginnings. Hope everything goes smooth." In the photo, beneath the wall-mounted mirror, was a small wooden box someone had left there. Dung didn't notice. Second night, light rain, weak signal. Dung sat reading random Reddit threads. A post caught his eye. Names that, if spoken at the wrong time, can never be taken back. One comment stood out. There was once a girl named Lynn. They say, if you call her name at exactly 3 a.m. 3 times in a row, you'll never see yourself in the mirror again. Dung chuckled, muttered, "Lati Tan Lin, sounds like an internet ghost story." For some reason, he said the name again. Then, once more, 3 times, at exactly 3:01. In his room, there was a mirror. Outside, the wind began to pick up. The wooden box quivered softly. Next morning, Dung woke up late, pale, but couldn't recall anything odd. Just a persistent chill down his spine since waking. He brushed his teeth, washed his face, looked in the mirror, and frowned. His face was there, but the eyes staring back didn't align, as if they belonged to someone else. He reached out to touch his face. The mirror did too, but with a slight delay. Dung shook his head and laughed it off. "Guess I'm just sleep deprived. Seeing things." But as he rinsed his hands, he noticed a thin red mark on his left wrist, like a string had just been untied. That night, Dung opened the wooden box. Inside, it was empty. No thread, no paper, only a faint circular mark, like something had been resting there for a long time. And a hurried, scribbled message. "Her name isn't for fun. If you call it, remember. If not, you'll hold it in her place." Dung froze. He moved to shut the lid, but from within came a very soft laugh. A girl's laugh, echoing from the bottom of the box. He threw it aside. Didn't sleep all night. The next morning, Dung truly panicked when a coworker asked, "Hey, didn't you come to our birthday dinner last night? I thought someone invited you?" Dung replied, "What? No one invited me." The friend frowned. "Wait, weren't you in the group? Hold on, why can't I find your name anywhere?" Dung opened the group chat app. His account was gone. No one remembered ever adding him. He checked his contact list. His number had been removed from all shared groups. At the same time, at Nan's house, she was cooking when her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared. "Sorry, I said her name 3 times. Now I can't see myself anymore. But I found the wooden box, and the name written was Lati Tan Lin. Are you the name keeper?" Nan froze. She replied, "What's your name?" A moment passed. No response. She tried calling back. The line said, "This number is no longer in service." That night, Nan dreamed she was standing in an old boarding room. The light from a ceiling bulb cast a dim glow, reflected in a large mirror on the opposite wall. In the mirror, she saw no reflection of herself. Only Dung, huddled in the corner of the room, pale, holding his head, mumbling a name over and over. Lin, please don't look at me. I'm sorry, it was just a joke." And from behind him, the girl in red appeared, sliding forward without taking a step. Pale face, wet hair, and bottomless black eyes. She leaned in close, whispering, "You don't remember me? Then you'll be the one to keep me." Nan jolted awake, her back soaked in cold sweat. She reached for the last page in Nia's notebook, the one he had written his final words on. If someone repeats her name again, only the one who keeps her name can stop the reflection cycle. Nan gripped the paper tight. She knew it was time to break the cycle. That night, Nan stood before the iron gate of the old boarding house, next to alley 130, where it all began. In her hand, The wooden box, now open. Inside, the 3 old paper slips bearing the name Lati Ton Lin. Now faded, the ink blurred like rain bleeding through old scars. She brought no mirror, no talisman, only memory. Room number 3, where Dung now stayed, stood as silent as a blank page. Nan knocked. No answer. She pushed gently, the door wasn't locked. Inside, empty. Lights off. Wind curling through the window. Whispering through the cracks. On the floor, a shattered phone screen, paused at the end of a video. A young man, sitting in the corner, scratching his head, muttering, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. Then the screen trembled. A red sleeve fluttered past. The video ended. Nan sat down, opened the wooden box, took out the last piece of paper, and rewrote the name, one last time, using blood from her fingertip as a binding seal. Lati Ton Lin. In her ears, the wind stopped. The air went still. Behind her, bare feet touched wet tiles. Nan didn't turn around. She closed her eyes. A woman's voice whispered, so soft it barely kissed the pillow of her thoughts, yet echoed deep in the memory of one who'd been forgotten. Why, do you still remember me? Nan replied, calm, because I was the last one Nia trusted. And you were the last one left behind. I won't let you stand behind anyone again. A long pause. Then, footsteps. Soft. Close. Long hair brushed against her cheek. Not cold, just hollow. The girl asked gently, if I walk into your memory, will you let me stay? Nan nodded. Stay, but not to harm. Stay, to rest. The mirror in the room glowed faintly. For the first time, there was no reflection, only a soft white haze. And slowly, 2 figures appeared. A girl in red, head tilted. Another girl seated across from her, holding a wooden box. Neither spoke, just stared. Then, the red figure faded, merging into Nan's back, like stepping into a deep, distant dream. The next morning, Nan awoke on the floor of room number 3. The window was still open. The wind still blew. The wooden box beside her, empty. The last piece of paper, blank. She grabbed her phone, opened the old group chat, typed a message. Does anyone still remember Nia? 1 minute later, first reply, yeah, from high school, right? Then a second, hey, where's Nia these days? He used to tell the best ghost stories. Then a third, a fourth, as if Nia's name had returned, soft as smoke, warm as fire. Nan burst into tears, not knowing exactly why. Maybe because finally, someone was remembered, and someone else was allowed to rest. That night, as she stood before the mirror, wiping her face, the glass reflected her clearly. No one behind her, but on the tiled wall next to the mirror frame, someone had written, in shaky ink, faint but still legible, I was once a reflection, but now, I'm at peace.